Welcome to this advanced mandolin lesson where we're going to talk about how to perfect your slides and all of the correct theories behind how you should be playing slides on the mandolin. At the end of this lesson, we're going to hopefully play a break to the great song by the Dillards, The Old Home Place, and that will sound a little bit like this. So there's a lot going on in there, a lot of slides I've snuck in. You might say too many slides, but that's the point of this lesson. So that's where we're going to try and get to in a few minutes. And first of all, we just need to do a bit on the theory behind the slides, because without the theory, how are you going to play them perfectly? There are four main options when it comes to how to play your slides, and it's all to do with two different things. Number one is where the slide falls in terms of an up or a down, and number two is how quick the slide is. So we're going to look at the four different options around that. And whenever you're looking at technique, whenever you look at improving your technique or learning more about the mandolin, your best friend is always scales. So we're going to use four different scales to help us demonstrate and practice the four different ways that slides can be used. And number one, scale number one, exercise number one, and I should say at this point, everything I talk about today is on a PDF booklet that you can download if you just click the link below. So you don't have to work any of this out by ear. You can have it all in front of you as I ramble on. So exercise number one is where the slide is a quaver note, or an eighth note if you're in America, and it falls on a downstroke. And we're going to use an A scale to demonstrate. So our normal A scale sounds like this. Just a 2-octave A scale. And we're going to put some slides in. So the first slide goes after the first note. Like that. And then we put it in the same place for each group of four notes. And I'm not going to go too much into the theory. The main thing you're looking at is what your right hand's doing. This one, the slide, because it's the length is held for a full quarter note, full eighth note. The slide is taking the place of one of your pick strokes. So I don't want to see slide on a down and then your next note's an up, because the slide note that you're sliding into is taking the place of that upstroke. So what your right hand should be doing is, if I do this slowly, down, slide, down. Down, slide, down, up, down, slide, down, up, down, slide, down, up, down, slide, down is how this goes. That sounds ridiculous, and it's slightly counterintuitive because you kind of almost have to fight your right hand. But if you think about it, if you were going down, slide, up, you're then on the opposite pick stroke that you should be on for the rest of the bar. So it's so important. This is the most important thing about this lesson today, is that right hand should still be playing down on the beat, up off the beat, even when you stick a slide in there. So let's try it together. And the other thing, which finger you use is not quite as important. With this, I prefer to slide with the finger that would play the second note of the slide. So in this example, the second note of the slide is our 4th fret, and the second finger normally plays that. So I'm using my second finger to go from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret like that. There's nothing to stop you going 1st finger and then 6th, and then but the only reason I don't do that is the fact that you then have to shift back down the fretboard every time you slide. With this, you're always in the right position. You just kind of slide in there. So that's why I'm using my 2nd finger for this. So let's try it together. That exercise 1. Back that speed. So I'll count it in 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, down, up, down. And then you go back down. let's try that all together one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, down. And again. The next example is where the slide falls on an up. So this time the slide is taking the place of a downstroke. So if you look at your sheet, we're now going down, up, up. So down, up, up. So again, slide is taking the place of a downstroke. So we need to go down, up, up. So let's try the scale together, all the way up and all the way back down. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are the two examples of when the slide is taking the place of an actual note in the melody. But what happens if the slide is a very quick grace note? And this is where the right hand again has to change a little bit. So in this instance, we're still using an A scale. This is what we're adding. Can you hear those 4 little grace notes? So now we're not going, we're going. So it's a quick grace note slide. And the difference this time is that the slide is now not replacing one of the notes in the scale. It's an addition. So we're now going back to down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So let's try this scale together. So it's down on the first one, up on the second one, and then you go down on the note that you've just done and quickly slide up to the third, and then up on the fourth. Let's just loop those first 4 notes. So try and get that with me. 3 and 4 and. Again, it doesn't matter which finger. That's the sound you're going for. So now let's try the whole scale together. All the way up and then all the way back down. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there we go, that's the third example where the grace note and it's been added just before a down. Okay, so there's 3 examples, 1 more to go. The final example, which you've probably already guessed, is it's a grace note again, but this time it's just snuck in before an upstroke. So. So again, if you've got the scale in front of you, we're just going to 2, 4, 6, 0. Let's just loop that. So it's 2, then you hit the 2 again on an up and instantly slide up to 4 and then down and up. Is the sound you're going for. So let's loop that together. 3 and 4 and. So that's the sound you're going for. Let's try it on the whole scale. 2 and. Let's try and count it in properly, Mike. 3 and 4 and. And down again. There you have the 4 main examples of where you're going to find slides in a melody. The main things I want you to take away, first of all, is to not obsess too much about which finger you're using. I just noticed even as I was playing that halfway through scales, I was switching which finger I was using to do the slide. It really is whichever one works best for you. So don't get too hung up about what finger you're using. What you should be hung up about is what your right hand's doing. When the slide is taking the place of a note, then you need to be aware of that and remove a pick stroke. When the slide is a grace note, it's not taking the place of a pick stroke and you're just carrying on down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay? Very important. Keep doing those exercises. Try them on all different scales. You can do it on G, on any B flat, A flat. Just try it on all your scales, all 4 different examples. That'll take up your whole weekend. And when you've done that, it's now time to try and put it into a bit of practice. I have used the tune The Old Home Place, and let's do it twice. I'm not going to go into the kind of the theory of why I've done what I've done. Just trust me, I have written you a little break for The Old Home Place with plenty of slides and all options of slides added in there. So we'll do it. I'm going to play it nice and slow, and then we'll stop, and then we'll do it a bit more up to speed. So here is how it sounds slowed down. 3, 4, 1. 2, 3. There's your melody slowed down, and now let's play it again a little more up to speed as something for you to aim for. Always being aware of what that right hand is doing. That's the most important thing I want you to take away from this lesson. 3, 4, 1. There you have it, a lesson in perfecting your slides, and I hope what you take away from this is the right hand is probably more important than the left hand, because if this hand goes wayward, starts doing whatever pick stroke it wants, it's going to ruin the rest of the tune. So my tip to perfect slides is get your right hand perfect. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do hit subscribe down here if you have enjoyed any of today's lesson. For all other mandolin related information and all previous lessons, head over to mandomike.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next month.